Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to Newstos. So Xbox decided to announce yet another publishing division today. Of course, they already have Xbox Game Studios Publishing, they also have Bethesda, and they're trying to get Activision Blizzard as well, but it seems like that they weren't quite finished there because yes, they did announce yet another publishing division today, so we'll go over that one later on in the video. And then also, I do have some good news for PlayStation because it does seem like Sony is listening to their fans. Of course, there has been this major controversy surrounding PlayStation over the last month, but it does look like they are trying to fix the problem, so we'll go over that one as well. First though, if you do find yourself enjoying the video, make sure to hit that bell notification, subscribe, and like button below. It does help out the channel a ton, and it really does mean the world to me. Other than that though, let's just go jump right into the video, starting off with actually a pretty big topic, and that would be for PlayStation Spartacus. Now, back in December, Bloomberg posted this big report stating that PlayStation is planning a new service to take on Xbox Game Pass, and it's codenamed Spartacus. And ever since that article was posted, I've kind of thought it was a mistake to directly compare it to Xbox Game Pass because it does set certain expectations. We'll kind of get back to that here in just a moment. But supposedly, this service was going to be announced sometime in the first part of 2022. And now, reportedly, again from Bloomberg, it looks like that could be happening as early as next week. Yes, reportedly, the much anticipated PlayStation Spartacus is officially about to be announced, where we will finally get to see exactly what this service is. But that right there is kind of the thing. The reason that I was kind of critical over the original article, and really I can kind of say the same thing about this one, is that they continue to kind of describe this as an Xbox Game Pass competitor. That has led to a lot of hype, but at the same time, I don't think it's necessarily fair because it can also equally lead to a lot of disappointment if it does not meet those expectations of being a quote-unquote Xbox Game Pass competitor. And that right there is the thing, because what is the big selling point for Xbox Game Pass? It's day one releases. Not only does Xbox Game Pass include several independent and third-party games day one, but most importantly, every single first-party Xbox game launches directly into Xbox Game Pass. So basically, that means that if you play a lot of Xbox games, then you're going to save money in the long run. That is the key to all the success Xbox Game Pass has had. So when PlayStation Spartacus gets compared to Game Pass, that right there is the expectation. And, well, about that, Bloomberg is now reporting this. The new service is not expected to feature its biggest titles on the day they come out. The upcoming God of War Ragnarok, for example, is unlikely to be offered on the streaming platform right away, said one of the people familiar with the plan. So there you have it. Don't go into this announcement expecting that this will include PlayStation Day 1 releases. Now, maybe they come in with some other surprises. We are hearing that a big focus of this subscription service will be on legacy games. There's still kind of a question on whether or not that will be streamed like we see with PlayStation Now, or if it will be local. That will be a very important question, but really, I guess we're not going to have to wait too much longer, as supposedly this service will be announced sometime next week. Now, actually, speaking of day one releases for Xbox Game Pass, a new game was just announced, and this one looks like an absolute blast. That'd be for Turbo Golf Racing. Now, if you look at the trailer here, it might remind you of another sports car game that seems to have very, very similar mechanics. I think it's pretty clear where they got their inspiration for Turbo Golf Racing, though that's not necessarily a bad thing either. I mean, at the end of the day, if it's fun, well, it's fun. Instead of it being cars and soccer, though, or football, depending on where you live, in this situation, Turbo Golf Racing, of course, is cars and golf. And after watching the trailer here, I think this game looks like it's going to be an absolute blast, and it does seem like it's kind of a perfect combination. I mean, we've already seen with Rocket League, you can kind of make a game like this where it's easy to jump into and have a lot of fun, but it also has a high skill ceiling as well. It will be interesting to see how that translates to a golf game here, but I definitely like the idea on paper. The fact that this is launching into Xbox Game Pass, that just makes it even better. We saw that with Rocket League. It launched directly into PlayStation Plus, and really after that, the rest is just kind of history. So we'll kind of see if Turbo Golf Racing can have some launch success as well with Xbox Game Pass, but it's also important to keep in mind that you can play this one on PC as well. It will be releasing on Steam, though as of this moment, we do not have a release date. With that in mind, though, if you do want to play this one early, you can actually sign up for the beta right now. I will leave a link in the description below for those signups. Next up, one of the most successful games to release this year so far has been Lost Ark. This game has launched to an incredible amount of success over on PC, but that right there is the thing. It is exclusively only available on PC as of this moment. However, if you have been wanting Lost Ark on consoles, well, there might actually be a possibility of something like that happening in the near future. In an interview, the developers were discussing the success of the Diablo franchise on console and were asked on whether or not there was a possibility of Lost Ark ever appearing on console, and check out their response. If Lost Ark on consoles is something that fans really want, then I think it's something both parties would consider. So while they're not necessarily confirming anything here, it definitely seems like they're open to the possibility of porting Lost Ark to console sometime in the future. And truthfully, I do think that that would probably be the smart thing to do. I think a lot of people would be interested in picking up Lost Ark on console, and we have seen time and time again that these more PC-driven style of games can still translate to console. I mean, you take a look at something like Final Fantasy XIV, that's very much PC-oriented with all of the different hotkeys, but it still works well on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. You take something like Diablo or Pillars of Eternity or the number of other games that are, again, more centric on PC, well, they still work well on console, and they do seemingly find a fan base over there as well. So with a game as popular as Lost Ark is, I think that it would probably be in their best interest to bring that over to consoles as well. And plus, for a company like Amazon, which published this game, assuming they would pick up the publishing rights for Lost Ark once again on console, I think it would be in their best interest to do that as well, because really anytime they can attach themselves to a successful game, that is good exposure for Amazon Games. But nonetheless, if this is something that you're interested in, definitely go and let Amazon Games as well as Smilegate know that you do want Lost Ark on console. Let's go and talk about Xbox though, as they just unveiled a new publishing division. Yeah, they continue to expand, but this one is a little bit different, and it is highly ambitious. So what's happening here is that Kim Swift, which is most well known for her work on Portal and Left 4 Dead, has now been given her own publishing division that focuses on cloud-native games. Now this works different than what we've been seeing the cloud be used for games here in recent years, which is basically game streaming. To be clear, this is not game streaming. Cloud-native games is actually where you develop a game with the cloud in mind. You're no longer restricted to just hardware. While yes, you can develop a game for Xbox, by using the cloud, you're no longer just restricted to just the Xbox's hardware. As an example, you can unlock things such as extra computational power. You can also advance AI even further and make for some more interesting NPCs. And there's also plenty of other things you can do as well by using the power of the cloud. This is why it's so ambitious, especially when you start to get creative developers involved. And that's where this publishing division comes in. This is where they can use their expertise to help developers make these cloud-native based games. In fact, one rumor that we have continuously heard about over the last year is that Hideo Kojima and Kim Swift has been working on a cloud-based game. Now, if that is true, we all kind of know just how creative Hideo Kojima is, so it'll be really interesting to see what type of game he makes taking advantage of cloud-based technology. It's really kind of hard to tell what he'll come up with, but there actually are already a few examples out there of cloud-native games. As an example, you have something like Crackdown 3, and while that wasn't necessarily the best game in the world, they did have that Wrecking Zone multiplayer game mode where it used cloud-based destruction physics. This allowed for widespread destruction in this multiplayer game mode that supposedly was not possible without cloud-based technology. Now, there's also other examples such as Flight Simulator. I actually think Flight Simulator is the perfect example of good use when it comes to cloud-based technology, but Flight Simulator does stream data to the computer or console in real time, with AI being utilized to extrapolate geometry from a blend of satellite and flyover imagery, and it does this fantastically well. I actually do believe that this was used to improve the geometry of Forza Horizon 5 as well. I'm not 100% sure about that, but yes, we have already seen a few cloud-native games, and you're really seeing, especially with Flight Simulator, how well that can be used under the right circumstances. So here with this cloud-based publishing division and them using their expertise, it will be really interesting to see what some different creative developers across the industry can do with this type of technology as well. Either way, I think some really exciting things can come from this, so it'll definitely be worth keeping an eye on this division throughout the generation. Let me know what you think about all of this though. Are you excited about a future where developers aren't necessarily restricted to just hardware alone, or are you a little bit more apprehensive about this? Let me know in the comments below. Next up, and on to our final topic of the week, I do have some good news for you PlayStation fans out there that have been playing Gran Turismo 7 since it launched earlier this month. Now, as we all kind of know by this point, there has been a controversy surrounding Gran Turismo 7, and that's all linked to the microtransactions within this game. Now, in terms of gameplay, Gran Turismo 7 is being described as a good racing simulation experience, but what is upsetting fans right now is the in-game economy and microtransactions. Because the payouts within Gran Turismo 7 aren't very high, it almost feels like Polyphony Digital and Sony are trying to push you to buy these microtransactions, which are actually quite expensive. As an example, a car that might cost $5 in Gran Turismo Sport is suddenly $40 on Gran Turismo 7. None of this is a good look whatsoever, and fans are rightfully upset over this situation. It's actually gotten so bad to the point that the user score on Metacritic for Gran Turismo 7 is actually the lowest reviewed game ever for any first-party PlayStation game. Yeah, fans are pretty upset about this situation, but the good news here is that PlayStation and Polyphony Digital are listening. They did post a public apology today and are looking to fix the problem. You can take a look over here at their statement made on PlayStation blog where they say, "We know that this is not the Gran Turismo experience you expect, and we will be making a goodwill gesture in the form of non-paid credit pack of 1 million credits available to those players who may have been affected. You will see this hit your accounts shortly. Make sure you log into the game before April 25th to claim the credits." They then go on to say, to improve the player experience, we will be rolling out a considerable patch in the beginning of April. The number of events will be increased, and we will re-establish the reward system with greater balance throughout the game to benefit all players. They then go on to show several improvements that they are looking to make with this update, but this is just so great to hear. Not only do you get a public apology over this situation, but it does sound like that they are going to try to fix the problem. Now, I don't know if this singular update will fix all of the issues within the in-game economy for Gran Turismo 7, but again, the good news here is that they are listening, and it seems like that they are actively trying to fix the problem. That is a good sign for, again, what is a pretty good racing game. It really has just been a shame that so much of the attention has had to focus on the microtransactions, but it is really good to see the community kind of speak out over this problem. I know anytime that these console manufacturers take criticism, there's always a part of the community that kind of fights back over that situation because, you know, console wars is the thing, whatever. But it's reasons like this that the community absolutely needs to speak up. You take a look at the Xbox Live Gold issue that happened, what was that, a year or so ago? When that happened, the community was just livid over that situation to the point that they actually reverted that decision in like 24 hours. Actually, I don't think it was 24 hours. It was a very short period of time. But that was because the community actively voiced their displeasure. And that is what you're seeing here with Gran Turismo 7 as well. So always kind of keep that in mind. Your voice does matter, and if you want to see improvement, let these developers and publishers know. Let's go and take a look at the poll of the day, though, and there are a few prominent games that are releasing today. That includes games like Kirby and the Forgotten Land. There's also Tiny Tina's Wonderland, and then we also have Ghostwire Tokyo. Now, I did ask you all about Kirby earlier this week, but I thought I'd go and ask you about Ghostwire Tokyo as well, on whether or not you're going to pick this game up this weekend. And based off the results here, most of you all will not be purchasing this game, or at least this weekend. Only 6% of you said yes, while 81% of you said no. Now, I would say that this game is in kind of a weird situation, and what I mean by that is that I think a lot of people kind of knows that this is a timed exclusive, and, well, this game is technically owned by Xbox. Tango Gameworks, which does fall under Bethesda, means that this game is technically owned by Xbox, and we do know that it's a timed exclusive, so I think for people that have multiple platforms, and if they are subscribed to Xbox Game Pass, there's a good chance that a lot of people are just kind of waiting this one out, so they eventually play it sometime next year through Game Pass. It's a bit of an unfortunate situation for PlayStation and Tango Gameworks. This game's already kind of unique, which makes it a little bit of a harder sell. It does look interesting though, but I think because of all of that, and with it coming to Game Pass next year, people are just kind of waiting it out. And plus, there's also a lot of other big games releasing right now. It just seems like Ghostwire Tokyo right now is going a little bit under the radar, but hopefully it does well in the market. I hope that we see some good numbers come out for it next month when we start to see some of those reports for how well this game has sold. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.